Hey guys, Michael Nguyen, host of the Asian Success Show, where successful Asian entrepreneurs show you how they build their companies and achieve success. Are you still trying to figure out the ABC of social media? Are you still trying to find a way to leverage social media to your business? And have you ever wondered what mistakes you made with social media strategies? Today I have a very special guest for you, and she's an award-winning CEO, best-selling author, and TV show host. And what's more impressive is that Fast Company call her the master millennial of the universe and the online marketing shaman. I think last year her company was honored at the White House for being named the Impact 100 list of top U.S. companies run by entrepreneur. And what's more impressive is recently she she received the award at the United Nations. And you guys ready? Drum roll, please. That woman is Shama Kabani. Shama, welcome. Glad to have you here today.
And thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
No problem, no problem. So how was it like when being recognized at the United Nations?
A little surreal and definitely very gratifying. It was just such an honor. There were so many amazing so many companies there that were there. Amazing young entrepreneurs doing cool stuff. So it was very humbling to be in their midst.
Perfect. Wow, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so will you share with the audience a little bit how Zen Marketing Group is doing this year as far as the revenue wide and the number of employees that you have?
Yeah, so we've had a very successful year, and we've been very grateful. We've grown a lot. We've actually grown on average about 400% since we started in 2009. We have a team of 30 people now, and we work with clients across the board doing all types of web marketing campaigns, from digital PR to social media campaigns to to creating content for them, websites, search and optimization, you name it. So definitely we've increased our offerings, we've increased our scope and our scale, and it's been a very rewarding year. I mean, definitely being recognized at the UN as one of the top 100 companies in the US, but to be run by a young entrepreneur was just the pinnacle of the year for us. So everyone is really excited.
Really? Absolutely. So you said your team, are they in the US, or you have a virtual team?
Yeah, our team is in the US, but they are virtual, so we don't have a headquarters. Everybody works from wherever they want. So we've got employees from, DC to San Diego.
Awesome. And your client not only in the US but also some clients, some international client as well?
Correct. So we have clients in France, we have clients in South America. It's pretty spread out.
Oh wow, 400% growth since it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Why did you choose social media at the first place?
When I got into social media, it really wasn't a thing. There was no industry for it. I did my thesis on Twitter when it had 2,000 users. So it seems like a very long time ago now, but now Twitter has somewhere around 275 million users. And when I got out of school, I knew that was my passion. I knew that doing something in that realm was going to be very fulfilling, and it really was going to change the future of business and communication. A lot of companies didn't share my vision. So it's hard to get a job that doesn't exist, frankly. So that's really how I got my start and created my own company. And from that, we've grown, and I've just never looked back.
It's awesome. I know that as an agent as well. So did your parents influence you to follow the traditional path of being a lawyer or a doctor, or you
No,
chose your own path?
that's so funny because I come from my family is very non-traditional in that sense. Being an Asian family, there was never a lot of pressure to be a doctor or a lawyer. My dad, I think, would have liked it if I was a doctor, and when I was younger, he'd be like, "Oh, you'd make such a great doctor." But I think they knew that that's not where my passion was, and they've been very supportive. My younger sister is a yoga teacher, so it's very non-traditional careers for Asian families, and my parents were just very supportive. I think for them, the happiness of their children was more important than anything else. And the funny thing is, both of them are entrepreneurs. My parents are. It's very common, obviously, in Asian families. But I never thought I would be one looking at them because all I saw was like they're always stressed, they're always running around, And I was like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. That sounds just terrible. But so that's actually oddly enough that kind of pushed me away because I was like, okay, I don't want to live like my parents. Like everywhere they go, they're looking for business ideas. Like they're always thinking in this way. And I just thought I wanted a job, and then really entrepreneurship kind of found me. And so, yeah, it's funny, because growing up, I just thought, oh my God, my parents like rarely sleep. They're always running around.
Wow, that's cool. You mentioned I saw some other interviews for you, and you mentioned that you started your coaching business before you get into social media.
Yeah. So this was when I was still in school. I had a coaching business that I'd started as my first company. So I guess those entrepreneurial leanings were still evident in wanting to do something different and just not finding a job that would allow me to do what I really wanted to do. So yeah, I had a coaching business that I built and sold. That was before I started this company.
I see. Can you talk more about the transformation when you did your coaching business and then did the consulting in social media and then fully grew your practice to a big company?
Yeah, so it's funny in that way because I built up the coaching business, and then when I sold it, I said goodbye to everybody and said, "Hey guys, business is moving on. This is what I'm going to go do." And then the moment I said it, someone who was following my work immediately emailed me and said, "I want to work with you." So it was funny. We've been profitable since day one. We were making revenue since day one. And then I started doing consulting. What we soon found out, though, and this is really true for I think any business, is you have to listen to the marketplace. So one thing that we found is people said, "This is great. These are great ideas." Like we would give them, like for example, I'd just be like, "Oh, here's everything you need to do. Like here's a book, right? And they would say, "These are great ideas, but who's going to do it? We don't have the resources, or we don't have the time, and so you guys do it." Or we found that for social media to work, a lot of other pieces have to work too. Your website, your online, like
That's right.
everything has to be integrated for you to get results. If it's not integrated, you're not getting results. Like I can guarantee it. If there's a reason you're like, why am I not getting results? It's because you're not integrating your activities fully. So because of that, and the clients looking at what it took for our clients to be successful and looking at what they were asking for, we became full service. So we added developers and designers and content writers. And so I would say for about 80% of our clients now, we are their web marketing department.
Oh, gotcha. So you offer a done-for-you package.
Yeah, essentially a turnkey web marketing solution, definitely.
And was that how the Zen Marketing Group was born?
Yes, we were known as Click to Client first, and then that's how, every good business is an iteration. Like I think if you look at YouTube, if you look at Facebook, Twitter, any really big successful company, none of them started out with where they are today. Like no one, like with Facebook, it was supposed to be a network for students at Harvard. I think if you'd ask Zuckerberg, "Oh, do you imagine it would look like this today?" He'd say no. Like you have no idea, So I think you have to be able to evolve your business with time for sure.
I see you saying. So I trying to find out like back in the early day of social media, when there were only several thousand users on Twitter, and I tried to figure out the answers that how do you choose your target client, and then you said one of your previous client from your coaching business approached you and asked you to help, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And then a lot of it was also building up a for me, like I started the company at 23, so really I didn't have a lot of connections. It's not like people were lining up or I had a client base that I was taking from a company. A lot of it was educating people, and that's still what we do today. So creating blog posts, doing webinars, speaking, writing a book. It was all just totally focused on educating our clients.
So in other words, that's the content marketing that you're trying to do, that you try to
Absolutely. I mean, 110% it was, yes.
And So after that first client who came to you from the coaching business, how did you, you know, so what did you do to compel them to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in your social media service? How did you get the second and first hand clients?
People were very interested. I think a lot of our success, and I'm not shy about this, and I don't pretend like we had all the answers, is right time, right place. When I started the company, there were no other social media. There were just a handful of people who really knew what they were talking about. And of course, as the pool has grown, and there's so many more companies offering that now, but really it helped to be one of the early movers in the industry and being able to, people naturally kind of turn to you for something like that. So that demand was there, but supply was limited.
Absolutely. And then you just grow from there, from one
And you
client.
grow from there and you build your reputation, So most of all our clients now come to us from referrals from other clients, or someone finds us online through our inbound activity, so newsletter, blogging, all of that stuff.
So when you did that, did you graduate or you still working on your thesis, your master thesis?
No, I graduated. I got my master's degree in organizational and communication and technology,
Mhm.
and I, started the business. So it's been an interesting journey.
And then at that time, you decided to postpone your job searching and decided to do some consultations.
Pretty much, because if I kept doing the job search, all I heard was, we don't see a future for this. We don't understand what you're talking about.
Gotcha.
We don't, and so I think what happened was big companies were really scared. They didn't want to, this is recession time, right? So 2008, 09, recession's really hitting hard. Big companies, what they do when things are scary is they pull back. They stick to the tried and true. They don't want to take risks. Most companies work in this MO. Smaller businesses, on the other hand, were eager. They said, how do we make the most of it? Like, if it helps us reach more customers, we're all for it. So that's really kind of how, that was our first niche with small businesses. And of course, as we've grown, we've attracted a lot of bigger clients.
I find that interesting because for a lot of people, when they hit their first challenge that lots of people say no to them, they will immediately go back to the method that is so familiar, such as finding jobs or doing something that they don't really like. But I find that in your case, you define you taking notes very well and define your own path. And what was the, I guess, how to make that distinction? You need to jump. Like, I think that's the leap of faith.
It is a leap of faith. I think, again, right time, right place, I got a lot of good, positive feedback very quickly on the idea. So it wasn't like I was out there and no one was responding. It was like anytime I spoke to someone, they just wanted to know more. They wanted to know how they could use it. So I think in that way, it's about finding that right niche. And that was very helpful to us. And I think given that positive feedback very quickly, it really propelled us forward. But it is, anything is a leap of faith. But in my case, I really didn't have a lot of options. There weren't any jobs
Available at that time.
were a fit for me. And I could have settled for a consulting position, but I would see these companies in their brochures and they looked so cool. And then I would interview with them and I was like, man, that's not what I want, So I think the wonderful thing about being 23 and starting a business is you really don't have a lot to lose.
Not to lose,
I
yeah.
had a full ride to school. Abilities certainly makes life a lot easier.
I'm sorry, I missed that. There's some disconnection that lost that when you were 23, and then we missed that.
Oh, I'll repeat it. I'll just say, when I was 23, I realized that you really don't have a lot to lose. So
Mhm.
because what was the worst that could happen? I already didn't have a job, right? I didn't have a mortgage. I was very lucky. I know a lot of people aren't this way, but I didn't have any student loans.
That's
This is
awesome.
why I think being smart and applying for scholarships when you're in high school,
Right.
things that you don't think about, but they impact your life. So I didn't have any loans. I didn't have a car payment. I didn't owe anything. And in the Asian culture, parents are always very happy to have you home.
Awesome.
They were like, come on home. It's 1881. They don't really care. They're just glad to have you home. So for me, I had free shelter and free food. So, and those things are very helpful.
How long did it take you to grow your client from 1 to 10?
That's a good question.
And
Boy, I'm thinking about it now. I'd say maybe 6 months.
about 6 months?
Because it was a pretty quick, yeah, it was a pretty quick progression. And then something happened that really turned the tide for us. Business Week named me one of their top 25 under 25 entrepreneurs in North America.
Ah,
And it was a nice article, and I mean, it was very appreciative, but it was just, it hung out on the Business Week site. And then eventually, one morning, it got picked up by Yahoo and ended up on the homepage of Yahoo. And we never looked back. I mean, the phone started ringing, and it's
okay.
like one of those things that you're like, I don't think this happens twice in a lifetime.
I heard a story
Like,
that
going to the UN and White House have happened, so I just feel very blessed in that way.
okay, so I heard a story that that your host called you and said that you have like what 3,000 hits a minute or something like that.
Yeah, this is really fun. Wow, you did your research. You're a good interviewer. I'm surprised. Usually people ask such surface level questions. I'm impressed. Yes, so my phone rang at like 6 in the morning, and this is when all my calls still went to my cell phone, right? Because I'm still like running the show. And it was a hosting company, and they said you're getting, like 2,000 hits. And I'm so excited because the newsletter had gone on the day before, and it went out to 2,000 people. So I'm thinking 100% open rate, which never happens. So I'm like everybody opens the newsletter. How cool is yeah, I'm like, oh my god, it's the best newsletter in the world. So here I am, all talking on the phone, telling the hosting company, oh yes, it's just the newsletter. People are opening it. And the guy goes silent for a second, and I was like, it's like 6 a.m. I'm really sleepy. So he goes, no, I mean 2,000 hits a minute. And I was like, people are sharing the newsletter so much. I still can't wrap my brain around it. I was like, yeah, add servers, whatever, do what you have to do. And then I go back to sleep because I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
That's
And then
amazing.
eventually I get up and I have breakfast and I get on the computer and I get on Twitter and someone goes, congrats on being on Yahoo Finance. I'm like, Yahoo Finance? And apparently they took this article and put it on there. And eventually, as the day progressed, it got so many clicks that it ended up on the homepage of Yahoo.
Wow.
And then I had and the phones would not stop ringing. So that was definitely a big turning point. We went very quickly from a few clients to a lot of clients and just had to scale quickly.
So at that time, I guess, did you get the 10x growth after the viral?
That's fair. I'd say something like that really propelled us forward. And when that happens, in business, it's really true that success breeds more success. The more successful we got, the more successful we got. It's just getting that initial success that I think is the hardest. But again, I mean, I don't ever deny luck. Some people say, oh, luck is for people who are not prepared. No, there's a lot of people who are smarter than me out there, who work harder than me out there. There are people out there who are probably more deserving of all this. But I've really been lucky, and for whatever reason, the powers that be have decided to bestow me with that, and I acknowledge that fully in business.
Gotcha. So after Yahoo, posted your newsletters and the content, and then apparently you got the tremendous amount of growth from then. How did that change to your delivery of service from from very small shop to a bigger one?
Yeah, so Yahoo actually posted the Business Week article, the top 25 under 25. That's what ended up on the homepage of Yahoo, and that's what went absolutely viral. We had to scale very quickly. We hired employees quickly. We added services quickly. I remember sitting with our employees, and she's like, what should I charge for this? I'm like, oh, no.
Throw some numbers.
We found a way to do it. We found a way to deliver. We found a way to keep the clients happy and grow and all this stuff. So I think, generally what you learn over like maybe 5 years, we learned in like the span of like 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I really want to know some of the tactics that you use, to handle your business within that 5 week, that 5 growth week, because somebody would have experienced that maybe 5 years or 10 years, but for you just 5 weeks.
Yeah, I think, again, one thing for us has been that we know our stuff really well. It's been a strength. So it's not like we were learning the service, what we're selling is a professional service or expertise. And the good thing was I had that down. The team was really good at that. So we didn't have to really, that's what clients were coming to us for, and we were already offering that. The 5 week thing, I would say that was harder, was like learning how to hire very quickly and determine if someone was a good fit. organizational structures. So clients would be like, oh, as we worked with bigger clients, they would say, oh, we need invoices with like invoice numbers. And so we're like, how do you generate that? So there were just a lot of like organizational things that we had to figure out very quickly. Like what kind of apps are we going to use? How do we manage projects? So we got like Basecamp. Before that, it was all emails.
Right.
And there was like, okay, these are really big projects. We need a project management ticket system. So things like that. I mean, that was really our toughest part. But the clients were willing to even put up with a lot of that, I think, because they knew we really knew what we were talking about.
Let's talk a little bit more about how you chose your team at that time, because the growth so fast, and how you find a team that really fit into the companies and just deliver the job.
Yeah, I will. Rock stars that just did not work out, and we've hired people.
Sorry, I think I missed that. Some of these connections are frozen up your images.
Oh,
and
how's that?
Okay, let's really talk about the. I asked you a question. How did you find your talents and to help you do the job?
So what's funny is initially we were searching right on LinkedIn, and we would like put feelers out there. Now we get so many resumes. Like for each job, we get about 220 applicants. So that's been pretty neat. Like we attract a lot of good talent. It is challenging in the sense that I don't feel like there's any interview that will really tell you how well a candidate does. I know there's all these programs and like different systems that people use. I don't know. Maybe I'm not the best interviewer in the world when it comes to like hiring people. What we do that works really well for us now is testing people as interns and as contractors. Like we will work with someone on a project before we bring them on full time. So we get a good sense of who that individual is. I've also built up really good relationships with professors around the country, and so anytime they have a really bright student, they email me, and so it's really nice to be able to have those kind of connections too.
So how did you build up because I know that you're from UT Austin, and how did you build a relationship with other schools then?
Other professors. So what's funny is my book that's called Zen of Social Media Marketing, which is now in its 3rd edition, is used as a college textbook to teach social media in
This one?
Yes, that's the one. So it's used, a lot of classrooms use it as their textbook for teaching the subject. And what's neat about that is then these professors will email me, and I'll do like Google Hangouts with their classes and things, and so we build a good relationship like
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah.
So that explains why I saw that you made several trips to university in.
Yep, I've spoken a lot. I mean, I do a lot of international speaking. I've done a lot of keynotes, and a lot of universities really want their students to understand this stuff. So I've done a lot of that as well.
Wow, interesting. What is the most expensive mistakes that you made at the Marketing Zen Group when you're doing business?
I don't know. I mean, expensive mistakes would mean that we didn't learn something from it. We've learned from really all our mistakes. I would say things like, again, finding right people. Like, for example, I never thought that people would lie on their resumes. I guess because what's funny is you see the world, you think the world sees things as you see it, and I would never dream of doing that. So I never, it never crossed my mind that someone else would.
Yeah.
So it's just things like that. I think just being kind of naive about the world and learning things, or just things in the early days, that like hiring the right people, trusting the right people, the types of companies we wanted to work with. Sometimes people would come to us and say, I really want to market this. It's a great idea. And it would be a terrible idea, and over time we've gotten good at, and before I didn't want to say no because I was like, they want to market, and who are we to say that's a bad idea? And, you don't want to hurt people's feelings. And now I find myself being very like, dude, this is a terrible idea. Don't spend marketing dollars on it. Because it serves no one. And so we actually are very picky about the projects we take on. We turn away more clients than we take on.
That's awesome. So that brings a good point about the marketing. So before we need to define your client, your ideal client, correct?
Correct. So our ideal client it's across industries. I mean, we work with everything from retail to apparel to B2B companies across the board, software as a service, mobile enterprise. what defines our clients is they're all successful businesses, but they're looking to go to the next level, meaning they've kind of hit a certain point where they're like, we're doing great, but they're not leveraging the web fully. Like a lot of times, what our clients say is, we kind of we have a blog and we blog once in a while and we tweet here and there, but there's no consistency, there's no integration, and those are the things that really kind of cause those problems. And so when we come on board and are able to fix a lot of those things for our clients, that's where they see like the greatest benefit.
I see. So how did you orchestrate more referrals from your service?
Honestly, so much of that's been organic. I mean, clients refer. I mean, we have happy clients that refer us other people. Whether it's cousins or friends or whatever, and it's definitely something we've been really grateful for.
So more like a passive referral when someone, hey, I got
totally.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, we're not even very good at frankly doing active like, hey, please tell your friends about us. But that's how we've grown, is a lot of word of mouth.
One thing I'm curious because is that so when before your newsletter or article became a hit in Yahoo, and then let's say you have a set of services that you would perform to your client, and then with that growth, you grow so much and so fast. Did you change that set of offerings, or did you add more, or reduce more?
We certainly expanded. Yeah, we certainly expanded. After the Business Week article hit in Yahoo and went viral, we got feedback, but it was a lot faster, right? So we would hear, like, rather than hearing 2 people say something over the span of like 2 months, we were hearing 10 people tell us in the span of a week. And so, yeah, I mean, the other thing is also we've had to evolve to keep up with the web. Like, if you look at SEO and how much that's changed, Google now punishes before it rewards. That bar is higher and higher. So we've had to change how we do things for our clients, how we structure the services, what getting links back, for example, looks like. So yeah, I mean, just by the nature of the industry, we're always evolving.
So 2 key things. Number 1, you got feedback from client. Number 2, that's the growth of the industry, and then you see what's going on.
Yeah, with our industry, that's a big chunk of it, is just keeping up with it.
I see. How do you design the dream come true experience for your client?
I think it starts with really looking at goals, and you have to be realistic. When a client says, or someone comes and says we're looking for 1 million visitors, and it's a startup that's just gotten off the ground, and you're laughing, but we hear this all the time, like, I really want my being realistic about what their goals are, and then how can we help them achieve it. So we're more concerned with giving our clients a good ROI. Oh, I'm sorry.
We got disconnected again, Shama. I'm not sure. I think it's from my end. So can you help me repeat at the point that you said when a client came in with the request that need a million hits to their website?
Yes, and or someone will come and say, I want to be the next whatever it is, right? I want to be the next Amazon, or I want to be acquired by Asiansuccess, which happens a lot. I mean, we really have to set their expectations to be more realistic and say, look, what are your goals? What are the metrics that really matter? And then that's what we work towards. So it's very important for us to educate our clients and make sure that we have clients that are aligned with their goals. So it's really about making sure that they have their goals in check, that those are realistic goals, and then we work very methodically with a lot of transparency and very deliverable method to get our clients where they need to be.
How do you weed out those kind of clients, to make sure that you don't spend too much time on them and
very quickly? I mean, we've been doing this so long that we have a very good sense of it. Generally, we won't even work with startups that are not funded, that don't have VC funding, because they're looking for massive growth very quickly, and unless you have those numbers and that budget to match, you can't do that online. There's such a fallacy that people think, because the internet's free, or social is free, that we can do all these things very quickly, but that's not how it works. You have to be very strategic in how you approach these things. And to make a big splash, you definitely need a big budget.
Big budget. Wow. Even though all the tools are free and all the platforms are free.
Yeah, but if you think about like a Facebook page, right? For example, yes, you can do a lot organically, but if you say, oh, we want 50,000 fans in 6 months, then yes, you're really going to have an advertising budget that allows you to supplement those organic efforts, especially if no one's heard about you.
Absolutely. How do you design your after sales service? There's someone they trust you. Hey, Shama did all my marketing campaign, and then after you perform the service, do you have any after sales service to keep constantly in keep relationship with them?
That's a good question. I mean, a lot of our clients we do ongoing work with, so there's no disconnect. A lot of them come back for projects that are project based through our newsletter, through our social. We just had one client who came back, who left 2 years ago because their business partner wanted them to work with someone else, and they were just thoroughly disappointed. They were like, we really want to come back and work with you guys. You were the best that we worked with. And they kept in touch just through social and seeing all our success and just keeping in touch that way. So we don't force anything. Like we're very much about providing the information and letting people make the decision for themselves.
Mm-hmm. I got a friend who asked me about when the interview you asked you about how you what are some tips that help you run your virtual team effectively?
Okay, yeah, good question. So one, we're very deliverables based, meaning everything is deadline or ticket driven. There's nothing that is hourly or go do a little bit. We have very clear instructions, very clear directions. Even with our clients, it's deliverables based. You get XYZ. That's the value. So doing that and holding employees accountable to deliverables and meeting deadlines,
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy. Tools like Skype, obviously, to stay connected. In fact, earlier today, we had a whole team meeting on Google+. We did a Google Hangout together. So that was neat. And then, of course, things like Basecamp for project management, Google Apps Premiere for email, storage, Drive, all that stuff. So technology today, especially all the open source stuff you have, makes it so much easier to run a virtual team.
Absolutely. So besides the tools that you use, is there any organizational methodology to use? Maybe some check and balance, managerial relationship?
So the teams are all divided in, well, the whole team is divided into teams. And so you have like search, social, content, design, and then each team has a team lead. So all the people in the team report directly to the team lead, and then the team leads, upwards, things like that. So in that way, we do have checks and balances in the sense that each team has a lead, and that lead is responsible for making sure that their team is doing what they need to do.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the tips. Okay, let's talk more about these little things. I just ordered a book last week, and when I read that, it's really good. And so, can you help me tell the audience what brought you to write this book?
Initially I wrote the book as an ebook. This was like 4 years ago. I wrote it as an ebook because people were asking me questions,
Mm-hmm.
so many questions, and I didn't have the time to answer them all individually, and there was no resource. I couldn't say, go check this out, it's got all these answers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like one other book out on social, and it was very theoretical. I like giving people practical stuff. Personally, I enjoy when I have like things that I can do, like give me something tangible. So I wrote this very practical primer for social media, and it got picked up by a publisher. It's now in its third edition. It's available on Amazon and in bookstores. It's definitely meant as a primer and a really good starting guide. If you're advanced in social media, it's probably not something that will be very useful for you.
Cool. So I picked up several chapters over here, and then can you help the audience understand more about your philosophy of ACT, which is attract and convert and transform?
Right. So the attract, convert, transform philosophy is what I think all of online marketing really is, right? Attract is, how do you attract people to even know you exist, to get to visibility? And then C is convert. How do you convert them to customers? But also there's a different type of C, what I call lowercase c, of consumers. How do you get someone to sign up for your newsletter or subscribe to your blog or follow you on Twitter and over time become a customer? And then the T is for transform. How do you take the success you already had, case studies, success stories, testimonials, and then use it to attract more? And then I look at social media and I say, it's a great tool to attract. It's a great tool to get people to be consumers. It's a great tool for transformation. It's not a great tool for direct conversions. Rarely is someone going to see a Facebook page and says, oh, I want to hire you. It's really part of the process. It's not the end all and be all.
Let's pick one example. Let's pick my website, Asiansuccess Magazine, and how does that apply to the ACT philosophy?
Sure. So, for example, attract would be how do we even get people to know about the Success magazine, right? So you might create a Facebook page around it. You might invite people to share it. Like you're getting people to come to the site. The C is for consumer, meaning businesses come on there and say, hey, I want to, I'll subscribe to the magazine, or I will follow them on Twitter, or I will connect with whatever it may be. And then over time, ideally, if someone says, hey, this is a really good outlet, maybe I'll advertise with these guys, right? So that's like kind of your big C. And then the T would be your success stories. So someone says, again, depends on your goals, but if I'm just making this up, if it's advertisers, an advertiser says, ever since we've been advertising in Asian Success magazine, we've had just this great results, and this, XYZ happened because of it. That's great, and you take that story and you share it on social platforms and on your blog and distribute it, and more people are like, oh, what's Asian Success magazine? So it kind of comes full circle.
Perfect. I like your analysis. Okay, on chapter 5, you talk about why most companies fail at social marketing. Can you talk more about that? And because when I read that, I'm really thankful, and apparently I saw that my mistakes is in there. And so will you share with the audience, your some of the really mistakes, some of the very common mistakes that they made about the chapters?
Yeah, so I think the biggest mistake people make with social is they think social is all there is, or they expect it to get them quick customers and clients. It's just not how it works. It's part of a process, right? For example, let's take search. To rank on search for certain keywords. So let's say you sell watches online. And to rank for watches or for the brands and watches on the web, one of the factors that goes into how well you rank on Google and getting traffic is how much your content is shared. So social factors, things being shared, things being tweeted, all these things add up. So the reason most companies fail is because they don't have an integrated approach to social. They have a very let's throw, see what sticks, doing a little bit here, a little bit there, but it's not a full strategy that's consistently executed.
And from the book, so you use one example that I remember is that let's say when Dallas real estate companies, and if they would make mistake if they just keep posting about themselves, but according to you, they would the social media will give them best result is that when they create a page, something like why Dallas rocks.
Yeah, so this goes back to the idea that people use social media to showcase their identity, right? Mm-hmm. You're much more likely to like a page that showcases something like, let's say, even for Asian Success magazine, right. You would have more of a successful time if you created a page that says proud to be an Asian entrepreneur, or something that's around your audience, that's sponsored by Asian Success magazine or promoting Asian success, versus just the magazine, right? So you're making it about the audience, and then of course anything can be sponsored by or powered by the company or the platform behind it.
That's awesome. So let's give more example. Let's say if I have a carpet cleaning companies, what would be the things that people would connect a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. So like, let's say that I'm a carpet cleaning company, or we have a client that does carpet cleaning. We have to look at what's their audience, right? So maybe it's women who love to keep their house clean, and so a page around tips for organization or for home, like how do you keeping your home spick and span, something very like Martha Stewart-esque that's sponsored by the carpet company makes a lot more sense than just a page for the carpet company.
Wow. Yeah, this is a very resourceful book at Shama just showing me, and I just show you guys two the tips and one my mistakes over there, and the basic building block of social media. So I know that there's so many tools or so many action to take from here. What are some of the, I guess, the takeaway that people, hey, if I recommend this book to a friend of mine who has a one restaurant, what should she start?
Start from the beginning. So I think that's what the book, I'd say the first chapter is pretty good, which is the online marketing, right, basics. Understand the attract, convert, transform, and then figure out what are you doing well, what are you not. And then so much of it is just consistency. People want shortcuts, people want the overnight stuff, but really it's the consistency that gets you where you want to be. I know a colleague who's an entrepreneur who's very successful, and the only thing he's done regularly for the last 10 years is send out a newsletter every week. Every week he sends out a newsletter. That has been his thing for the last 10 years. And so, he's not doing a lot of things, but the things that he is doing, he does consistently and he does them well. So you really have to kind of think about your audience, think about what drives them, what are they looking for, how do you leverage that? Like for a restaurant, using things like Yelp and Google reviews plays a much bigger role. So you really have to kind of figure out what works for your business, what works for your audience, and then figure out the tactics go under which, like the A, C, and T, and what falls under each box, and then just do it consistently and do it well.
I heard the other entrepreneur said that every month, if you don't keep in touch with your client, you lose 10% of your relationship with them, and over the year, then when the next time you call them, who are you?
Yeah. You definitely have to stay top of mind visibility. That's very important. I think email marketing plays a key role in that.
Absolutely.